Hyperdrive Hockey is brought to you by the Game Over Network. Make sure to follow us on YouTube at Game Over Network and catch Hyperdrive Hockey in audio format on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other good streaming platform. Hello, beautiful citizens of planet hockey. Welcome to another episode of Hyperdrive Hockey. My name is Maxime Vanout alongside Daphne Malbeuf and Kevin Laramie. We are broadcasting, of course, on YouTube. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere you catch your podcast. I was going to say your platform. No, your podcast. Everywhere you catch your podcast, please consider subscribing to Game Over Network's channel. And wherever you are, whoever your favorite team is, make sure to follow Game Over Network in your local market, whether that be Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, Winnipeg, Calgary, Vancouver, and Edmonton. Make sure to drop a subscribe and catch a post-game show. You will really greatly help the Game Over family if you do so. Daph, how are you doing today?
Hi, Max. First of all, I need to know if this is a Grinch t-shirt or just like one.
Well, it's a crew neck. I was keeping the reveal for those of you catching up on video format for the next few seconds because yes, this is a Kevin Laramie special.
Oh yeah, he's a mean one today. I love it.
Yeah. I'm wearing the Grinch shirt. I have three Christmas,
sweaters.
Sweaters. So
ugly Christmas sweaters.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. This is exactly the word I was looking for. So this one is not an ugly Christmas sweater. It's just a Grinch crew neck. But I have three of them, and when December comes, they go from all the way back in the wardrobe to the front. And then they go back once December goes.
But I have to take a second to talk about the Grinch movie. Because to be honest, the Grinch is not the bad guy in the movie. All the inhabitants...
We're talking the Jim Carrey one?
Yeah, the Jim Carrey one. All the inhabitants of the village and the way they treated him when he was a child.
Of course.
Those are the actual villains. So there's my hot take for today.
I agree.
He's just a victim.
He is.
I saw that movie a bunch of times and I'm still crying every single time.
You do.
When he's crying after school when he was making Martha this great Christmas present and it was
poor Grinch
destroyed. I would have maybe turned out the same.
Yeah.
Obviously. Whatever.
There is a French-Canadian comedian on Instagram who did a reel about it, Hi Charles Pellerin, earlier this week, saying how this was a very bad look for same-sex parents when you think about it, because the Grinch two mothers never went looking for him. He's just there in the mountain. He's a kid. He left, and they're just like, yeah, he's gone. Bye. We're not. They're not going picking him up and going like, it's okay. Come on, come back home. This is
crazy because this is one of the subjects that I've talked about with my friends like a year ago. And we were like, these are kind of the stories in the movie that you're like, you've never wondered why? But I'm like, this is a pending question for me. Like,
why didn't they go looking for him?
And like, they were good with it. I'm like, hello. I know that you've inherited this child. But I mean, terrible. Yeah. And it's not, for the same-sex parents, this is not
exactly. They had to make the one LGBTQ couple the one that didn't go look for. This is you know what? This is bad. This is a bad look.
This is bad look. And Max, I wanted to say that I'm really good today because I'm not Jacob Trouba. And
poor man. Well,
I
actually,
had a good day for that.
Yeah, not poor man. I'm not. I'm taking that back. Not poor man. Jacob Trouba, in a way, kind of forced his way onto New York City, like many players. Like the New York Rangers are one. To me, they are the one team in the NHL, good, bad, wherever they are in their cycle. New York. The hockey players want to play there. It's kind of the only market that has that attraction, probably because it is the biggest market, but for hockey, it is not. So you basically get all the advantages, the jet set life of the big markets without all the disadvantage. And of course, I'm saying this from a hockey player standpoint because personally, I'm of the opinion that hockey player only on that side of thing, I feel they're a little bit of big softies because in soccer, everybody wants to go play for Real Madrid. Everybody wants to go play for Barcelona. In the NBA, everybody want to go play for the Lakers. You know, they're looking for that showtime. In the NFL, it doesn't really matter because the NFL is just freaking huge. In baseball, you're going to go and throw for the Yankees. You're not shying away from it. I feel like only in hockey do players shy away from the spotlight in the big markets. They want to go in those small markets where they're not going to be disrupted. Well, New York, being in the United States and being in New York, where literally you have dozens of teams, male, female, across all sports, you have everything non-sports related for entertainment. You are a drop in the ocean, living the jet set life anyway. So it's kind of the only thing that has this attraction level for players. Jacob Trouba is one of those players who wanted to go there, had a big contract. We'll talk about it later. I think it's a bit weird what is going on right now with the Rangers, but all this to say, I'm taking that back. Not for him, but it's really a weird, very weird situation.
Yeah.
All right, so we will talk about the New York Rangers today. We were already going to talk about the New York Rangers, and then we all woke up on Friday morning and saw that news that Jacob Trouba ain't playing on Friday night. There waiver talks, trade talks. Anyways, we'll talk about this a bit later. We'll talk about many things happening, both NHL, PWHL. We will, of course, have our Not Even Sorry segment. Kay from Game Over Montreal is joining us today. Patrik Laine is back and somehow hasn't missed a beat. That was not on my bingo card, to be really honest with you. But first, we have to talk about the biggest news in hockey world this week, which was the roster reveal for the Four Nations face-off. I can't believe I just categorized this as the biggest reveal, the biggest news in the hockey world this week, because as I've said, to me, guys, I'm going to be honest with you. My attention level, my awareness, my desire for this tournament was strictly about the roster, and now it's gone. Like whenever the games are in February, if I'm available in front of the TV, I will watch. But like these are no Olympics. These are absolutely no Olympics. So to me, that was it. That was the roster. Now we have the roster, and we can talk about it.
The present is unwrapped.
Exactly. I wasn't happy with it. I wasn't happy with it. You know what? We have no choice. Let's start with Team Canada here. I mean, we're a Canadian podcast, so let's do this. If I had to ask you guys one sentence, and then we'll each we'll unwrap our presents after that, to describe your reaction to Team Canada. Mine is the following: disappointed, but it won't matter. Daph, what was your reaction?
It was, are we changing strategy here? And no.
Okay.
We're going with the same old stuff over and over.
Okay. Kev, what was your one sentence reaction to the roster reveal?
Missed opportunity. I think they really missed the opportunity to create a splash.
I feel like we're all on the same page here. Okay, that's interesting. Personally, disappointed, but it won't matter. Here's why. I've said it before here on this pod. I've said it on the many platforms that I have, that I'm lucky to have to talk hockey. I am not so I did a video reaction in French to the roster, and I cannot believe, when I look back at the Team Canada that I had when we did the exercise a bit over a month ago here, I missed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players on offense. I knew some of my pick were long shots that were probably not going to be selected. I'm talking mainly about the kids line that I wanted to see of Johnson, Lafrenière, Bédard. Since then, honestly, I would almost have brought Macklin Celebrity, but that's for another discussion. But I am of the belief that you bring the best players, and you talk to those players and you say, hey, are you willing to take that role? Are you willing to take that role? They will say yes. They will take those roles. If you take Jonathan Toews back in 2010 and you say, hey, Jonathan, you're going to be the third line center. You're going to be the fourth line center. You're going to do this and that. He's freaking Jonathan Toews. Of course, he's going to do it better than everybody else. When you bring in Corey Perry, Eric Stahl, and Ryan Getzlaf, and you say to these guys, you're going to be the nastiest, scariest energy line probably of all time. Are you three guys going to do it? They probably looked at each other, had a big laugh, and said, "Oh, hell yeah." So I'm sorry, with all due respect to Hagel, to Cirelli, to Konechny. Why? Yeah, we're gonna kill penalties. Yeah, you can take some better players to kill penalties. And I agree with Kev about the missed opportunity. I don't personally, maybe I will be proven wrong. I don't like that point of view. And the reason why I say it won't matter is because to me, there was a thing that was shown in those rosters is that we've seen it coming, but now I think in terms of depth and development, Team USA is ahead of Canada. But right now, the three best players in the world are in Team Canada. So that's why I'm saying it won't matter.
And I'm going right there with, are we changing strategy here? And you're looking at it and you're like, maybe. And then you're realizing that not really. Because ideally in the past, it seems like, as you just said, Max, we were bringing, the best talent available, and we were having those talents adapt to whatever roster we wanted to have, or just believing that the talent was enough for those guys to be able to adapt to whatever situation. Now, I'm like, okay, so we're changing a little bit the strategy here, because it feels like we put it guys that have already maybe precise role to complete a roster or the bottom six. And you're like, okay, maybe they've built that to, protect the weakest part of this roster, which is the goaltending.
Goaltending?
Yeah. And you're trying to reinforce a little bit in those areas so your team could maybe be better than people think. So you're like, okay, we're changing strategy here. And I'm like, no, because we are playing safe and we are playing conservative, as good old nice Canadian as we are. And you're like, you could have given Connor Bedard some chance to, just enjoy himself. And as you said, bringing a kids line, and these are no Olympics, so you can have and you can do it. So I'm like, it feels like we are changing the strategy here to, maybe cover the fact that we don't have Carey Price between the pipes no more. But we are not really. And we are just keeping the same old boring strategy of playing it safe. And I'm disappointed because this is the kind of tournament that you could have, like, this is an opportunity to do so. You have to sell tickets. You have to sell entertainment. You have to sell fun. And I'm just looking at it. I'm like, I don't. But we have a good team. Like, this is like, these are talented players, but there are some kind of choices. I'm like, you could have done much better.
You have Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon, Connor McDavid, and Kel McCarr. So of course, like what are we ranting about here? I guess the only place I don't fully agree is that I feel like in 2006 they did just that. They brought Chris Draper. My sincere respect to Chris Draper. They brought Chris Draper on the team, saying exactly that. We need to have a fourth line center. Like, that was a thinking. We need this. We need that. Yeah, that team had a bad round tournament, and then they were eliminated in the quarterfinals. They didn't do that in 2010. They didn't do that in 2014. They didn't do that at the other cash grab tournament, the World Cup. But I am just wondering if that was just a golden age. What I mean by this is, when I think of some of the best players of that generation, I just talked about Jonathan Toews, I can think of Patrick Bergeron. These are bona fide number one centermen. These are bona fide number one centermen who won Stanley Cups in those roles, but they were also some of the best two-way player in the league. And I do wonder, maybe the Canadian team just doesn't have that, don't have like a Jonathan Toews type of player available that we regard as one of the best players in the league. But I don't know. I don't know. Kev, how do you feel about this?
Well, obviously, I'm disappointed. I thought it was a missed opportunity for the exact reasons you're mentioning. You had a chance to bring in some young players that could really have made this more fun, more entertaining. And that's what that type of tournament is for me. It's supposed to be entertaining. It's supposed to be fun, where you bring your kids to either Montreal or other places the games are going to take place and have fun. But instead, it's like, okay, let's build a team to not get exposed. Let's build a team that won't show our weakness. Let's build a team that will be sound defensively. No, you want to see games like in the 80s. I want to see a 8-7 finish that the Monty say stops the 8th goal from going in, and then Canada wins on a breakaway right after. It's a tournament to spark the imagination of young TV viewers.
You wanted an all-star weekend with international jerseys, basically.
Well, that's what it's supposed to be, right? And then you can meet, because to be honest, in the Olympics, you're not building to face 3 teams. You're building to face multiple teams, and you don't know how it's going to plan out. It's like this team is like, okay, let's build it so we can face the Americans and be good against them and make sure that we don't get exposed by Sweden or Finland's attack. We all know that Finland's not defensive. Defensively, it's not their strong suit. And Sweden, they have a good mix of very good attacking and great goaltending. And somewhere in the middle, they'll be a bit more, I guess, balanced. But for Canada, I thought you missed the opportunity of, look, let's have great pictures of Celebrini and Bedard with a Canada jersey and spark the imagination for what the Olympics could be 2 years down the road. Not give a shot to Mark Stone, who's 72 years old and is not going to be there in 2 years. You know, that's the type of thing that I'm a bit rubbed the wrong way about. It's like, just for the big media, it's for the Toronto Sports Network and the other sports network and the few places where they talk about this ad nauseum, and they're like, okay, let's make sure we build a team that they cannot complain about, that they don't create controversy. He's the exact opposite. Create controversy. Make people talk about it and show it on the ice. But no, it's I think one of you said it just a few minutes ago. It's a very conservative team, and it really represents where I guess where this country is going.
This conservative thinking needs to stop.
That is a statement if I've heard one. If we're not talking just Team Canada here, who do you feel is the biggest surprise on any roster and the biggest snub? And to me, the biggest snub, I'm going to go Tage Thompson of Team USA. Honestly, that to me is huge. And if you had told me 2 years ago, when, yes, he had a down year last year, he's having a comeback year this season. If you had told me 2 seasons ago that Tage Thompson, when he was, I don't know if you remember, particularly in the fall, he suddenly went Mario Lemieux for a few weeks. It was highlight reel after highlight reel. It felt like every night you had a crazy 6'6" centerman with soft hands, a fairy doing things on your highlight reels, on your Instagram page, whatever. Instagram hockey. I love some Instagram hockey. Hello, Mr. Valiket. So I was very surprised by Tage Thompson being snubbed off by Team USA, more so than Cole Caulfield. We can talk about this later on, but to me, that was the biggest snub. What was your biggest snub, Daph? On any team, it doesn't have to be Team USA.
I was agreeing with you on this one, so I took another one, which was Mark Scheifele. For me, not being considered for Team Canada, it has to sting for him because he's been left out despite his, good start of the season. 13 goals, 27 total points in 26 games. And maybe it's because of his lack of defensive skills that he was left out. But I feel that, and maybe he wasn't tailored for the bottom 6 of the roster, but I'm like, I feel like he could have a chance. And he's a leader. I don't know. Like I was really surprised. He was in my projection. He was in many projection. And I'm looking at the roster. I'm like, he could have fitted perfectly in this.
Yeah, I almost chose him too as one of the biggest snubs. Kev, do you have a particular player you are surprised as in on any of those teams?
Well, I have one that I'm surprised that he's in a team. And I'll be quite honest with everyone. I think it's Patrik Laine. I'm surprised to have him being chosen by Finland. He has played 2 games in the last 357 days. So the sample size of his play is very small. Yes, he scored 2 goals. He played great. But with the injury history over the last few years, I'm actually surprised. But when you look at the depth of players they had to choose from, he's back, he's playing, okay, he's part of the team. So that's probably, but where I really think that there's and I know it's probably he's not representing the right country, but only one of two Sebastian Aho are chosen in this team. And I would have loved to see both Sebastian Aho, but I'm not even sure the second one is Finnish, but that's another reason.
One of, like, we've talked about the snub, Max, but my surprise was also Yoel Armia, who...
Oh, it was?
Yeah, I'm just like, okay. Yeah, he had a career high last year with 17 goals, and maybe he was chosen because of, like, his best virtue is penalty killing. But I'm just like, okay, is this really... I don't know. I was surprised. I'm like, okay.
I understand why. I understand why. Maybe it's just because the Team Finland's depth isn't exactly the one of Team Canada or Team USA that it didn't bother me as much as. Personally, Travis Konecny. That to me, despite what we said earlier, like, to me, Seth Jarvis isn't that much of a reach. He's a 30-goal scorer. He is legitimately a Selke candidate. So, like, to me, that's fine.
Yeah.
You talk to me about Cirelli and Hagel. All right, like, Hagel's over a point per game. Cirelli, I think, is one of the best second-line center in the NHL. Like, I can understand why, but I don't know. I've been told by a lot of people that I'm disrespecting Travis Konecny here. Maybe I am, but to me, that was this, like, I'm sorry, but that one I'm not getting. I'm really not getting that one.
And I'm curious because I don't feel like he was on many people's projection also. Mark Scheifele was a lot more on these ones than Travis Konecny. So, yeah, I was surprised too. And I don't know. Like, maybe we will be surprised after the tournament. Maybe we will.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Maybe we will all shut the hell up. That is quite possible, especially on such a short tournament.
And we're used to the apology, so maybe afterwards they're gonna need some apology here. But yeah, I'm totally here with you. I'm curious to see what it's gonna look like.
Me too. Yeah. Really, really curious. The closing statement on those Four Nations roster. With what we have right now, what do you think the standing will be of this tournament? I'm going to go, I'm sorry to my fellow Canadian, please don't take away my passport. Team USA number one.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going with Team USA number one. I think the depth on both defense and you don't need depth in goal, but they have Connor Hellebuck, and if it's not Connor Hellebuck, they have Jake Ottinger, and if it's not Jake Ottinger, it's Jeremy Swayman. So I ain't even worried. And it's not as sexy as McDavid, McKinnon, Crosby, but boy, Jack Eichel, Austin Matthews, the Tkachuk brothers. This team is stacked on offense. This team is stacked everywhere. So I'm going USA, Canada. I'm going Finland third. I like the sneakiness on Finland. I think they have grit. And, these are all good teams. And I'm going to Sweden fourth.
So I have a little modification, which is Sweden. I feel like they can surpass Finland in the third spot, but I'm with you on this one, Max. We have entered the America's golden era there. It's for the first time in a long time that Canada is not the team to beat. And you've said it, they're just packed in. And in some kind of way, this is what we are maybe the most excited about. Is just like, this is the kind of team that American fans have been waiting for, and Gary Bettman is happy with that. He's like, Americans are cheering for this team, and I'm here for it. So, and Canada, we have pure talent in offense. We have maybe a balanced roster, but I feel that between the pipes is going to be maybe the problem of the roster. Sweden, for me, is, this is maybe a veteran group, but I feel that they have high ceiling on this one. And I feel that, we're looking at the center spot and they have deepness in there. And this is maybe why I'm putting them before Finland. And they have, the Finns have strong talent at the top line, but it seems like like they have this and nothing elsewhere. So maybe it's just not going to be enough.
Yeah.
Like, it lacks of secondary talent. Yeah.
Yeah, I just like the grittiness of Team Finland. I know it's a long shot. You know, they're neglected. Kevin, who do
Yeah,
you think has the
it's gonna
strongest
be.
roster?
I'm gonna go with Team USA. Apparently, they made the Team USA great again, and I'm gonna go for my second pick. Yes, Sweden is the second best roster in my mind, and then I did not go full Grinch. I
Wow.
did put Finland in fourth and Canada third. So I think it's gonna be USA winning the whole thing against Sweden in the final. Canada will just miss it, finishing third, and Finland will finish fourth.
Interesting. Interesting. Let us know what you think of those roster in the comment. Now, let's go across planet hockey in our coast takes.
Max, we have to begin with what the hell is going on in New York. We have to go in depth in the case of Jacob Trouba. There's a lot of balls in the air regarding the scenario, what his future will be in this league, because he will not be on the ice for the Rangers today against the Penguins due to roster management purposes. And we're looking at what, a trade here? Are we buying him out? That escalated quickly, and it feels like the management decided that they were taking the wheel. They were doing something, not just yapping, but they were taking the wheel and doing some action here regarding Trouba's case.
Yeah, we are consistently refreshing our news pages because at the moment you are listening to this podcast, maybe the Jacob Trouba trade happened. Maybe he has been put on waivers. All signs seems to point to him being traded. Elliot Friedman, Pierre Lebrun reporting that basically there are offers. Of course, Jacob Trouba is the 15-team no-trade list, so probably those teams are on this list. So maybe they're just giving him the choice of where he wants to go, and they're playing hardball. They're basically telling him, if you're not choosing, we are putting you on waivers. This is crazy, and I don't think this is going to sit well with veterans. It's a similar situation to Barclay Goodrow. And I said it a bit earlier. New York is that place where you know what, Vegas kind of is like this now, but it's that place where players want to go. But Chris Drury, if he is building himself this reputation, maybe suddenly New York won't be as sexy as it usually is.
Yeah, and I've said that it escalated quickly, and we were talking on our Tuesday episode about like how he maybe messed with the vibes in the locker room.
He totally has.
Yeah, he totally has. Like
they're the President Trophy winners last year.
I know, and
they have basically the same team.
And they haven't been that good, but it wasn't that bad until he went out and with a league-wide message that he was willing to make big roster changes, and it seems like it only got downhill from there. After losing to the Blues, they lost to Carolina, they lost to Philadelphia, they barely won against the Habs, and then again they lost against the Devils, and you're just like, how we went from here to there that quickly. What happened?
I have so many, like, number one, we knew in the offseason they tried to trade Jacob Trouba. They couldn't trade him.
Yeah.
Clearly, there was some friction. I think if I remember correctly, they asked for his list a bit earlier on than they should have. He wasn't happy with that. It was his right to refuse. I am of the thought that he has a contract. You have to give the list by this date. If they come and say, hey, we would like to have it a week earlier, you're allowed to say, screw you. Like, the team is going to, like, this is business. Like, you do what's is best for you. With that being said, personally, I have absolutely nothing against the guy, but when you're looking back onto this, why is he still having the C on his jersey this year? Like, I know this can be perceived as bad. Maybe it would have poured some salt into the wound. I don't know, but we're in an era where stripping a C off a chest of a player has become not common, but it is a thing now. I mean, Dustin Brown won 2 Stanley Cups as the captain of the LA King. They built him a statue. That is for another discussion. at a point in his career, he clearly wasn't the guy anymore for the Kings, and they took the C and put it on Anze Kopitar. Literally this summer, the Toronto Maple Leafs did the same thing, gave it to Austin Matthews from John Tavares. I don't understand how the guy is still the team captain, and most importantly, you've said it, Daph, I think management really mismanaged this whole thing, and they have themselves to look in the mirror for the mess right now.
Yeah, because I was listening to Larry Brooks, who's a journalist from the New York Post, covering the regular activity of the team for so long. And when he was looking at maybe what was the problem, he said, like, it seems like there's something off all year, but what seems to be the core of it is Jacob Trouba. Like you cannot think of performing without or operate without the captain who's detached. And when you're looking at this, you're like, but whose fault it is? It is Jacob Trouba, or is it the management? Because it mismanaged there. Interesting.
If you are Igor Shesterkin, upcoming UFA Igor Shesterkin,
ooh,
do you suddenly tell your agent, no more negotiation until the end of the season? I'm a wait and see what the heck is going on here? Or do you don't care? Do you just, anyways, we know he apparently wants north of 11 million.
I feel you're waiting. Because I feel that there's a lot of things that can happen, and it can change the whole portrait of the whole team.
Yeah.
But it feels like it needs a big change of mentalities. The guys need to be committed. It feels that they are quitting on each other, but you're bringing this, and you're like, is this maybe just putting some oil already on the fire, or are we gonna maybe find a solution and it can help from this till the end of the season? I don't know. It's kind of like double situation here. It can be both, and it can do both.
And if I can add, Max, maybe now in perspective, it actually gives us a better a bit of hindsight with the perspective of how much he was asking for, Shesterkin, in the beginning of the season for his new contract, north of 11 million, regarded the other players. Maybe it's his way of saying, look, I'm not going to sign again with you guys. So here's an exorbitant amount of money I want. If you give me this, okay, I'll stay. But maybe when I'm a free agent, I actually go to a team that I think is better managed and could be a contender in a shorter amount of time. And maybe I'll take less money then.
Yeah, that's interesting, because a lot of people on this Friday morning that we are recording, their take is that Chris Drury is still writing the work of Jeff Gorton. So I'm just leaving you at that. Maybe he's kind of overrated as a management is all I'm saying.
And I have a question for you, Max. Is it because when Trouba is regarding all the team that are on the table for him, he's like, yeah, no, I'm not willing to.
Well, of course.
I'm not willing to.
Of course. But now they're playing the hardball, so he kind of has no choice. So it's a very complex and interesting situation.
Yeah. And do you know which teams are among the Derby?
Well, Emily Kaplan wrote that they are the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Detroit Red Wings, the Ottawa Senators, the Buffalo Sabres are among the teams that would be interested, according to Emily Kaplan of ESPN.
I'm I want to see, but yeah, I don't know. This is complicated, and we will have more information during the day, but yeah. And I'm just curious to see what it's gonna do. Maybe the Rangers can benefit from a lighter week. Also, they are playing against the Penguins, against the Kraken, Blackhawks, and Sabres. So you're like, maybe it's just gonna, lift some pressure off their shoulders. But yeah, it got out of hand, and I just wish for the Rangers that it can be just a good conclusion to this situation. The Chicago Blackhawks fired their head coach, Luke Richardson, on Thursday, and Sorensen will be replacing him as interim coach. And, Blackhawks are currently in the league's basement, And you're looking at this move and you're like, is this a statement that we are really not happy with the state of the franchise rebuilding project as of right now?
The Blackhawks were really, really bad in the month of November, and they are right now very at the bottom of the league. I feel like this is kind of, I mean, it's a strong word, but a bit unfair for Richardson.
Yeah.
Does anybody doubt that he has the worst roster in the league under his hand? Like they do by far, by far. So what do you? I feel like I don't know. Maybe the young players needed like they just needed a breath of fresh air. I don't know, but honestly, at this point in their rebuild, Luke Richardson, when he was an assistant coach, had a very good reputation as a player's guy, as the guy who is close to the players. Of course, that role changes once you become the head coach, but I was under the impression that he was the perfect man to be there for a young team. So I do feel like it's a bit unfair, even though there is absolutely no progression for the Chicago Blackhawks right now. How can there be?
Yeah.
Like, you know, Artem Lenchinov isn't there yet. There's just Connor Bedard. There is absolutely nothing around him. Peter Mrazek is playing way above his pay grade, and the Blackhawks are still 8-16 right now. So, yeah, honestly, a bit surprised. A bit surprised by this decision of the Blackhawks.
Yeah, you're like, okay, like, yeah, they had expected to be more competitive in this season, but they signed like Bertuzzi, Tervainen, who haven't
there is that
like they haven't success really. Everybody has struggled. Alec Martinez, who was also brought up, like has been hampered with injuries. So you're like, okay, yeah, maybe he's paying unfairly. We'll see. Like the coach is a development coach, so he's used with young talents. Maybe this is why this was the thought behind it. Max, we've been, and I say but the Montreal fans have been waiting for this from a long time. Patrik Laine is back on track, baby, and better than ever. Like 2 snipes in 2 games, and you're looking at this, and in the first game, I was kind of shocked with the atmosphere that was just at the Bell Center. I felt like it was kind of a relief for everyone. I haven't seen people that happy at the Bell Center in a long time. And we're looking at this, you're like, love is in the air, but will this be a fling or will this last?
This is what I can't wait to see. But I actually really love this second game against the Predators, even though the Predators are not a good team. And we really saw that on Thursday night because he threw some hits. He blocked some shots. And he scored that snipe. The snipes, the quality of the shot. Yeah. It's crazy to see how it's like riding a bike for these guys. The quality, like I screamed. The first goal, the guy doesn't play in a year. He goes bar down his game back. He goes freaking bar down.
Come on. Pure talent. Yeah. You're just
and the 2 reactions of Cole Caulfield. So on the goal on Tuesday night, just back riding him. That was amazing. Just pure happiness for the teammate, which also I thought was really cool because the moment they entered the zone, I saw that he went into Caulfield's office. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, because that wasn't how they were. He's on the other side. Usually, well, that's how they played him to start the game. Clearly, it was just a zone entrance that happened like this. So I was like, oh, they're going to install himself. He's going to go back. Nope, Laine Hudson flips it. He scores. And, sometimes I think it's so hilarious sometimes when, the narrative that, oh, this guy makes more than this guy, he's going to be unhappy. This guy's going to be unhappy if this guy scores. Like, they're trying to win, especially a team that's like the Montreal Canadiens who has not won these past few seasons. I guarantee you Cole Caulfield just want to freaking win. And that pure joy. And go watch also, it was less spectacular, like the reaction. But go watch the reverse angle of Patrik Laine's second goal. When he scores, like the first thing you see is Cole Caulfield, who is down by the red line, the goal line. He just looks at it at him, shakes his head a bit, and goes, "How?" Because again, like a perfect top shatter shot. One of my friend just texted "rock star shit," and I thought that was hilarious because that's what it's just pure talent.
Yeah.
He wasn't moving his feet that much yet. All of that at 5-on-5. So that's why I'm saying the second game was a bit more impressive. Right now it looks good because he's 2 for 2. But that's the type of talent level that Montreal has not seen a whole lot in the past 20 years. I include Caulfield I include Suzuki. This is top end talent. There is a reason the guy was so good when he was younger pre-injury.
Absolutely. And I'm just glad to that there's just like more fun. And we were talking about giving him time. He will need some, like patience from the fans to, like he's gonna be a little bit rusty, but it's just like it's just like is in DNA. It's just like
Oh yeah.
he's just purely talented, and I just feel that we need to be like there's a little warning here. Like this is cool, this is fun, this is like a new relationship, and you're going on dates, and you're like this is so fun. We'll talk about it in 20 games. I just don't want people to get too excited and get really harsh on him, because it would be some time to there would be some time needed to adapt and just like get back fully on his feet. But yeah, I'm just like
Yeah, and it's 2 home games. Montreal, like 2 different teams. 7-5-2 at the moment of the recording at home,
Absolutely.
3-8-1 on the road. So there's that. But they were having a 5-game home stretch. They started that stretch perfectly. Samuel Montembeault, fresh off his Team Canada nomination, suddenly looking like Carey Price was absolutely amazing. So, like the Montreal Canadiens are so far back, but at the same time are 5 point back of the Lightning. So who the heck knows? I don't think that anything's going to happen with this, but it's just fun to see. I think just before Christmas, Big Grinch is out of Montreal.
oh yeah.
Beautiful.
Oh yeah. And just we're gonna surf on all of those good vibes.
Let's bring the vibes.
Let's bring the vibes. But Max, you jinxed the vibes. Talking about Trevor Zegras, claiming that he was back on track. And now he's injured. And it's not looking good, because it could have been a good trade chip for the Ducks. And I was kind of hoping that he would succeed further this year on and with a new team. And now you've jinxed it. You've jinxed it, my man.
No comments. My man was back. My man was back. He was happy. He was sniping. He was scoring beauties in the shootout. He was giving me points in my pool. Now you know why I wanted him to be back so bad, because I have him in my pool. And now,
That is why.
what a stupid play. And it's not like a.
Yeah,
I know some people were. It was William Karlsson. Some people say, hey, is that a stupid? No, it was purely accidental. It was a freak play. You look at it. I was looking at it again this morning, times and times again, going like, how? And it worries me. At the moment of the recording, we don't have further news on Zegras. It worries me because it looks so insignificant. And the fact that he went down like this doesn't bode well.
Yeah, and we know he had injuries and surgeries last year, so just not looking that good for the moment, but hoping that he could be back soon enough. Another unfortunate injury, and curious also injury because of what can be brought to this, is Tyler Seguin, who needs a hip surgery and will be out for 4 to 6 months. His season is obviously in jeopardy. He's dealing with this second major hip injury of his career. And on one hand, you're like, this does not look good, because he's a big piece of the puzzle with the Dallas Stars, and he didn't miss any of the Dallas playoff games of the runs to the Western Conference Final in each of the past 2 seasons. And on the other hand, you're like, oh, but this could maybe be a good thing for the cap space, putting him on long-term injured reserve. What are you thinking about it?
Don't be surprised if a month prior to the playoffs, we see Tyler Seguin skating for a month without playing. This is starting to, when other teams, Elliot Friedman said that some teams in the Western Conference are like, oh man, that's a blessing in disguise. When other teams say that about one of your best players, who has been very good this year, Tyler Seguin, you know that the system is kind of broken.
Yeah, this feels like it's kind of the new scenario, or the fortunate scenario. or the easy scenario. And if we're looking at the cap space that he could like lift off, it's $9.8 million. So it could allow
That's money.
the Dallas Star, to add another standout player before March 7th, before the trade deadline. And I feel that this is kind of the plan.
I think
if
so.
you do,
I
then
think
if
so
you
too.
don't.
Yeah.
More
Players probably
than
don't
if
like
you
it,
don't.
but at this stage in his career, maybe Seguin doesn't matter.
But I hope he will be back for the playoffs. I hope he
I'm
will
convinced he
be
will.
able
I'm convinced
to.
he will.
Or they will manage to make him be able to. Well, thank you so much, guys. We are going to go to our new usual Friday segment, Not Even Sorry. And this week we are welcoming Kay Imam from Game Over Montreal. I am wondering if she's in a good mood or because she called herself a little hater sometimes. I don't know if she's going to be the Grinch like you, Max, today.
Well, last week it was a moment to be thankful. This week it's a moment to not even be sorry. Our regular now segment, Friday segment, where we invite some hosts from all over Game Over Network and we throw at each other our best take. Are we uplifting or are we throwing under the bus? And to join us today, Kay from Game Over Montreal. Kay, how are you doing?
You know what? I'm having a bit of a rough morning. Woke up feeling a
You
little
are?
sniffly, but lovely to see your faces. So better morning than it could have been.
Did you celebrate those two Patrik Laine's goal too much? What happened?
No, unfortunately, it's literally just it's that season, as we all know. Daff knows very well.
Yeah, it was me a week and a half ago, so I feel for you.
Yeah, well, you know what? Kevin has a young son, so he probably knows a lot about it too.
Wait until
young children.
the daycare bug shows up at the house every couple of weeks, and it's a fun time.
Yeah.
Fun times.
Yeah. So you know the drill by now. Each of our three debaters will bring an opening statement. They can either uplift or they can throw under the bus. And today, let's start with Daff, because I've been feeling Daff in a very good mood this morning as we are recording, whatever time of the day you are listening to our podcast, and we thank you for it. So Daff, I'm feeling you uplifting today. Am I wrong?
Oh no, I'm uplifting, and I wanted to talk about women's hockey because
Please do.
Sarah Fillier is set to cause a stir this year in the PWHL. I personally saw her, on the international stage, but I was wondering how she would make it in the PWHL. And when you're looking at this, you're just like, okay, we saw her in the preseason. She had a hat trick at the final preseason game. And it was clearly a message to the entire league that she was primed to make an immediate impact on the PWHL. And it feels like, she's a special talent. And we've been saying for a long time that she was, the next Marie-Philippe Poulin. She has such skills in her game. And I feel that she was already proving herself on international scene, but now we're looking at her and we're like, okay, her impact is evident. For the first game, she was on the ice for 3 of New York's 4 goals. She was factoring into each of them, including 2 assists, and just like that, she stole the show on Wednesday evening against the Montreal Victoire. 2 goals, 1 assist. She's already elevating those around her, especially Alex Carpenter. What a dynamic duo, those two. And I'm just like, okay, you need to start taking notes. Like the opponent needs to start taking notes, because when she's on the ice, and I feel like in the PWHL, she benefits a lot from more space. She has more freedom maybe to show that she is, in a class of her own. But also, like, I feel like her incredible vision, it just like it is expressed, but whenever it feels like she doesn't have enough space on the ice, she just pulled like a rabbit out of her hat, and she's really able to make such incredible plays. So I'm uplifting Sarah Fillier, and I feel like the Sirens are going to be a trouble this year. And
They're very good right now.
Maybe there's not like so much depth in this team. There's a lot of the success that is it comes from Fillier and Carpenter, but I'm just like, wow, this just like she's blowing me away.
There is this thing. I was watching the game on Wednesday night, and I didn't want my brain to go there, but it went there. I couldn't help but watching Fillier play. I couldn't help but think, could you imagine if Hilary Knight and Marie-Philippe Poulin had that league, that platform in their heyday? I mean, Marie-Philippe Poulin is still one, if not the best player in the world, but Hilary Knight, the league came on just a bit of a tail end of her career, but it's an amazing thing. I don't know about the UK and Kev, but the PWHL having a potential such bright star, young star coming into the league in just their second season is just what the league needed. I mean, of course, hockey is no basketball. She's not going to be like Kathleen Clark, like a level phenomenon, but at the level of hockey, she could be that type of talent and that type of star for the league.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And the fact that also I have a rookie card of her with Team Canada. So
you do?
I do have a Sarah Fillier Gold Edition. So I'm hoping she continues to do the same as she has been so far.
Yeah, but I feel like, Max, you're right. It's like she's maybe not on Caitlin Clark's level, but I feel like people haven't seen as much as maybe I've seen because I was covering the women's hockey on in the international stage. But like now people can enjoy her play, and yeah, I feel like you're really right on this one, that she is one of maybe the young, like one of the players that will make a difference and that will bring more people in and interested in the PWHL.
Yeah, and you know what? I think New York is headed for the playoff this year, which means one of the 14 that made it last year will be out. That's beautiful. We'll love to see it. We'll love to see some changes in the standing. If you haven't caught a game of the PWHL this season, do it. You are doing yourself a disfavor if you are not, and put your kids in front of the TV because kids just want to watch fun sports, man. And so start them young.
Yeah, honestly, I want to watch good sports too. This is my first season watching the PWHL. And I'm just like, every time somebody says, "Oh, I'm amazed," it sounds a little bit condescending, like, oh, you didn't expect women's hockey to be good. It's not that, because I've seen women's hockey obviously on the international stage, but it's so great to see so many different players. You just get to see so many different players. I'm a shameless Team Canada fan, so I usually catch most of their games than the other ones. So I'll be real, I'm getting to see more and more players. And as all three of you said, it's always good to have a star for the profile of the league. And it's just, I feel like obviously the only reason that I don't want the Sirens to not find success, but I have to see more of them, is I don't like their logo at all. But
no,
I know, hot take.
Oh no, I'm with you on this. It's not a good logo. Not a good logo. Decent jersey.
It feels like CBC's old logo.
I like the jerseys though. Max is right. I like the jerseys, but the logo itself, I'm like, well, I can put up with it.
I'm with you on this one. Okay. Okay.
See?
And it's also interesting to see, like you've said, like you were a big fan of like Canada team, but I don't know for you, but just seeing Claire Thompson checking Sarah Fillier in the neutral zone in the first game, I was just like, I'm here for that. Like usually teammates just like now on opposing team, I'm like, I'm also here for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because right now it's like the opposite of with men's hockey. When they go to Team Canada, they go from rivals to teammate. And so in women's hockey, unfortunately, we have been used to only seeing them on the international level. We kind of have the reverse idea of like, I don't know, Sarah Nurse and Marie-Philippe Poulin suddenly are rivals. Well, probably the more the league will grow, the more we will get in that same state of mind. Kay, I couldn't wait to have you here. Are you
Yes.
uplifting or are you throwing under the bus?
I know as much as Max is disappointed, I am uplifting
Oh,
today.
come on. Come on. I expected you to
Yeah.
throw under the bus, to come in and wreck a buck.
Next time. I
Okay.
promise.
Okay.
I
Hey,
promise.
we're
I have
close to
more
Christmas, so it's
hater.
okay.
Exactly. And as I said, I'm not feeling well this morning. I gotta start off my morning as high as I can. You know what I mean? Starting off as a hater feels like an end of the day activity. You know?
I'm taking notes on this. That's amazing.
I gotta warm up, Max, throughout the
Okay.
day. I
Who
gotta
are you
find the hater.
uplifting?
I am uplifting Nick Suzuki, as I always am, but specifically, I'm uplifting him, uh, honestly, despite the fact that he didn't make Team Canada. In fact, I would say it's going to be good for him and the Habs.
Oh.
So that's my opening statement, guys. Any thoughts?
Oh. I'm curious to hear, how do you think it will be beneficial? Because we often hear for players going on such good teams as, let's say, Team Canada, Team USA, Sweden, Russia are all teams that are really good, that all have good national team. And so often we will say for Nick Suzuki isn't that young anymore, to be honest, but sometimes we will hear for a young player. Personally, I consider that the heyday of Carey Price started at the 2014 Olympics. I felt like that was his coming of age party, and from there he ran on with it. Unfortunately, the injury happened, but from 2014 to 2016, Carey Price was the best goalie in the world. Was maybe at some point, well, actually was at some point the best player in the world. Was literally MVP and voted by his peer. So I'm curious, yeah, because I felt like going there could have been good for Nick Suzuki, just on the personal level, what he could have brought back to his NHL game.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I'm going to be completely honest. I'm going to be a lot madder if this happens for the Olympics. It's the four nations
Yeah.
because this really isn't the best on best, Max. We can talk about the four nations all we want.
I'm with you.
So, you know what I mean? There's a lot there, but specifically with Nick Suzuki, I'm not sure if you saw, but yesterday they, talked to him after practice and asked him for his thoughts. And they asked him if he regretted not going to the World Championships this past year because he was offered and he decided to skip on it. Personally, I think it was the right decision with his Ironman streak, how much he plays, et cetera, et cetera. Also, he got engaged this summer. He was busy. You know, he had things
Other
going
stuff
on.
to do.
He had other stuff to do. And his answer was like, I think I play against the best players in the world every single night. I get the hardest assignments. I think I've proved myself. And it was less the answer and it was more his demeanor. You guys know how Nick Suzuki has like a very blank faced kind of calm demeanor. He still had that, but there was something about that still felt really angry.
Yeah,
And like he
I
like
agree.
he emoted, like he had like body language where he like shrugged and like shook his head a little bit. And I was like, oh, he's mad. He is mad for Nick Suzuki. And then we saw it again that last night. He was great last night. So I feel like we're already seeing that this might have potentially been good for him and the Habs.
The only thing, and I'm hearing you, and I'm like, okay, that makes sense. For me, when I was thinking about it, I was like, I felt like, as Max said, wouldn't hurt to play with those amazing guys. But for me, the most important thing was a change of atmosphere could have benefited him. And what I mean by that is we know that, the morale of the Montreal Canadiens haven't been like this. They haven't been uplifting. Let's say it like this. And sometimes it's just good to be in around like a better, attitude or just like a winning environment. And yeah, that was the case for me. It's just like, oh, it could have just brought a breath of like fresh air and just like maybe bringing him another energy for the rest of the season. But I see what you're saying there. I'm kind of agreeing. It's just it, but yeah, just especially for him, like, oh, this could have been just having a great time, reconnecting with having fun playing hockey. I don't know, like if it's much enjoyable by around this time for a lot of Montreal Canadian players, but I see where you're heading with this.
Kev, how do you feel about it?
Well, it's going to be related to my point also a little bit after, but I don't think it's a bad thing right now. I think I agree with Kate that maybe for Nick Suzuki, for Canadians this season, actually might be beneficial because you're not putting a magnifying glass on your captain. He can just focus on his club career, as we would say, and then maybe with country in a few years. But for now, I think it's great, and especially if you go to those tournaments and then you get injured, can you imagine if Nick Suzuki would go to the Four Nations Cup and he gets injured, misses a couple weeks, couple months? No. So right now, it's good. The less amount of Montreal Canadian players can be highlighted during the All-Star break or the Four Nations break will be good because good luck to Sam Otabo. But it's going to be, I think, beneficial for the Canadians. Yes, I think I agree.
Mm-hmm. Nobody's going to get injured there. It's a glorified All-Star week. You said it. Nobody's going to play their heart out. I'm sorry.
No, for sure. Yeah. One or two guys are going to get injured. For sure. Guys get injured sometimes in the All-Star game.
Accident.
Yeah, freak accident.
Oh my God.
The guy turns, slips, falls to the board, and then he's out for a while. I've seen this movie too often to know this is going to happen.
Can you imagine Connor McDavid getting injured?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
And it seems like it's just our luck, Like it could have happened. Maybe Kent Hughes was a little relieved when he saw that Nick Suzuki wasn't called up for this tournament.
You know what? That would be for a discussion for another day. But I want to be very careful with what I'm about to say. I wish no ill toward any player, no injuries, but just a little something, a little month like long injury to a star, just so that Gary Bettman knows that his dumbass cash grab was a bad idea. Kevin, are you throwing under the bus or are you uplifting? We're in an uplifting mood today.
Exactly. So I had to bring it down to earth a little bit.
Oh, and the Grinch is back. I'm the one wearing the Grinch shirt, and the Mr. Grinch is actually Kevin Laramie. You really are ill.
Yeah, it's a bit easier for me to find things to throw under the bus and to uplift. I guess I'm a true Montreal Canadiens fan in the 2000s. But this has nothing to do with the Canadiens. This has to do with Team Canada. It's a no-fun roster. We talked about the roster earlier in the show. They had so many opportunities to make this a fun roster for the future, to bring the young kids' eyeballs that will be watching this and make them fans of a certain player, 2 or 3 players, and bring those players into the future. But no, you could not bring the Macklin Celebrini, who's going to celebrate over the next few years as one of the best players in the league now. You couldn't bring a Connor Bedard to finally make him play with good players after having a terrible season with the Blackhawks. It's not his season that is terrible. It's the entire of his team and his former coach, now Luke Richardson. No, you could not bring those players in. You could not bring the fun and good stories. You had to always bring the same type of players. Oh, it's about grit. Oh, it's about really you need to play it the 2 ways. You need to be able to play defensively properly. This is a no-fun team built by a no-fun hockey association ran by old men with white hair over 70. That's literally what this team represents to me.
Oh, I love it, Kev. I love it. Beautiful it sounds so Canadian. Just looking at, you've said it. You're like, we've played safe. And if we're looking at the roster and when we're talking about defensive abilities, I'm like, why Nick Suzuki isn't there? Like, I don't see the logic there anymore, but I was with you. I was rooting for Connor Bedard to go there. Like, let the kids have fun. Like, he is not in a fun environment also. So let him be. Let him express his talent and just like have the opportunity to grow with amazing, talented players around him. I'm with you on this one. I'm like, anyway, we're not that good on paper, so why not taking a chance on those kids?
Exactly. Trying to make the highlight reels, with the amazing Connor Bedard goal or Celebrini or no. Except it feels to me not only did they go safe, They chose the team for the pundits in Toronto to make sure they don't have anything to complain about. They chose a team where they just found, Tampa Bay, okay, Julien Brisebois, you're part of our decision-making process. Here's a few players from your team. Here's a few players from there, just to make sure that there's no controversy and they don't have to go out of their way to justify their decision. That's the easy route, as always. They took the easy route.
See, I feel like this is a moment where you really miss the young guns. You know what I mean? That was a little bit from, when was that? Whatever tournament that was,
the World Cup, the youth of
yes.
North American under 23 with Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews. Yeah.
I think that was fun, but ultimately, I do think Team Canada went with the really traditional decisions. But like you said, I think maybe one of the reasons they did that is because there's already so much high-end offensive talent in that lineup. Between the McDavid and the McKinnon and all those guys, Crosby still has that ability. So that would be my only yes, he does. And that every time somebody pretends he doesn't, he shows them. That would be my only kind of thing against it, I guess, for the idea of building a well-rounded roster. But I'm not sure a tournament this short really needs that well-rounded roster. I think it's about excitement, and I think you can outscore. I think you have to outscore your problems, frankly, looking at, and I love Monty, obviously love him, but Binnington, I'm expecting some full diapers there, but that's neither here nor there. See, Max, I brought my hater.
I have no notes on this discussion. It's a 10 out of 10 for every one of you. I completely agree. We talked about it earlier on the episode, and I fully agree with Kevin's statement. I fully agree with what KU just said. I'm disappointed. I'm not even mad. I'm just disappointed. I don't know, Daph, if you want a closing statement on this, but nobody's getting notes from me.
No, but I was just also, like, Connor Bedard is trying to improve, like, his defensive skills. So he could have properly been in the bottom six. And as you said, Kay, just bringing some scoring there, which we will need a lot with our goaltending situation.
Kay, thank you so much for joining us today on this Not Even Sorry segment. You were excellent, even though you didn't throw under the bus, and I'm a bit disappointed. Catch Kay on Game Over Montreal. Follow Game Over Network in your local area. And for us, that will be it for today. Thank you so much again for joining us for this new edition of Hyperdrive Hockey. Let us know what you thought about any discussion in the comments. Are we being too hard on Team Canada? Because let's be real, we were kind of hard on Team Canada in today's episode, and I know not everybody shares that feeling, and I'm really open to discussion, so let us know in the comment on YouTube. I'll be there commenting as always. Give us a subscription on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast. Drop a like, send this to your mother, your grandfather, even your dog. Everything helps. Thank you so much. Have a good hockey weekend, everyone, and we will talk to you on next episode of Hyperdrive Hockey. Thank you, everyone.